Hey, this is Rachel from the Life Facilitator, and I am doing a mixed media memory planning spread today. I'm showing you a few of the products that I am going to be using, and also showing that they match, well, the reddish pink color matches really well with the Cocoa Daisy to the Sea kit. And then the peacock teal color came in the classified memory keeping kit this month. I'm also going to use some stencils. That stencil is from the June Serengeti kit. And then this stencil is, I believe, from February. I'm also just sort of showing you how I plan to use these mixed media elements. Um, and for the stenciling, I'm going to be using the acrylic paint, but I'm also going to use some of these distress inks as well. I am a complete novice when it comes to distress ink. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm also showing you what one of the methods that I'm using for the paint is to smear the paint with a straight edge down the page or across the page. The other method I'm going to use is a smooshing method, which is very technical. Basically, you put paint on some sort of plastic and spritz it with a little bit of water, and then smoosh it onto the page that you um, are going to create on. So here I'm demonstrating it for you, and you can see that this method you have very little control of how things are going to turn out, but I think that's the whole fun of it, is that you can kind of let go of some of your perfectionism with this sort of technique. And so I am going to start by putting gesso on the left page. I will tell you now that this was a mistake. I shouldn't have done this. The thought process was that the paper wasn't going to be thick enough to hold the amount of paint that I was planning on using, but turns out it was thick enough, and the gesso just made it actually harder to adhere stickers. So there's that. I'm going to do my first smoosh method, um, and I'm going to do that on the right hand page. Because this is acrylic paint, I am going to use a paintbrush to kind of move the paint around the page. And so, and then also blot some of the water so that it doesn't completely soak into the paper. So the first smoosh I did was pretty light, and I'm going to go in with the distress ink and do a slightly more intense smoosh. But same process could be done with that acrylic paint from the kit as well. And then I'm going to do another smoosh up in the corner with the extra paint that was on the plastic. Now I'm going to use the reddish color, but I'm going to add some white acrylic paint to it so that it is more of like a pinky salmon, which goes with the kit a little bit better. And I'm going to do the process of smearing it down the page. However, you're going to miss this because my camera turned off right when I needed it to be on. So yeah, unfortunately, you missed some of the adding of the paint. But basically, I'm doing what I'm about to do in this lower corner. I did in that upper left corner with the teal paint and the stencil from the Serengeti kit. The only difference is I used a sponge instead of the distress ink blotter. But the process is the same. Um, and so I am adding the distress ink to the bottom and just like tapping it over the stencil so that the part of the stencil I want on the page is what shows up. And then I'm also doing it up in the corner a little bit. Um, and there is almost no rhyme or reason to my choices of placement and color. I did try to use 3 colors or 3 different mixed media elements in each cluster, and um, that was maybe the only like thought I had when I was doing when I was doing this layout. I am going to then pull some stencils that these are actually my husband's stencils. My husband is actually the artist in our family, and so he had a couple stencils that had really small little circles that I thought would be a nice addition to some of these elements too, partly because it looks with all of this other color and pattern looks a little bit like coral or something that you would find in the ocean, which um, would make sense because this will be a very kind of oceany spread. And so once again, my camera's going to cut out, which, this is the first time back to doing videos for a while, and so I apologize, but I am going to do an overview of the end results.
Okay. Well, I think it went okay. It's kind of fun. It definitely makes me harkens back to my art journaling days. I never used a lot of paint, but I do love the stencil with the smooshes and whatnot. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually finish the memory keeping part, and then I'll come back at the end because I don't have photos for this week yet, and I might just do a photo-less spread. I know I haven't taken very many photos for this week, and so I might just do journaling instead. And that's okay. Sometimes memory keeping is not about the photos, and it's about just kind of documenting where you're at in time. And sometimes writing or journaling or a quote is a better indication of that than a photo. So I will be back with the final product. Thanks.
Oh, well, of course, I forgot that I was going to do some stamping before adding the stickers because this is the kind of thing that I actually feel pretty confident in. So I did definitely want to add some stamping to this page, and I wanted the stamping to be pretty contrasting to the paint, and so I used black ink for all the stamps so that they really popped um, against the color. And so I'm using this stamp had like some lines, and so I am doing a cross hatch stamp effect by doing the stamp vertically and then doing it or horizontally and then doing the stamp vertically on top. Um, and I really like how that turned out. That looks really fun. Also, it's bordering one of the memory keeping stickers, uh, which around the stamp. And then I'm pulling elements that are a little bit more just decorative to just add to these clusters. So things like the water bubbles, the coral, um, some of those elements are what I'm looking for. And then I'll also look for a few word sentiments as well to add to the page as well. And you'll notice I'm doing a lot of generational stamping, which means you stamp it once and then you stamp it in another location and then you stamp it maybe for a third time so that you get multiple impressions with the same ink. I hope that makes sense. And I think for me, the stamps are what like ultimately made me love this layout because I think before the stamps it was just kind of splotches on the page, but then with the stamping it adds a little like, oh, these are watery uh, blotches. um, and so I yeah, so I'll just keep basically adding stamps until I feel like it looks good. And I'm again focusing the stamps on the clusters that I've already made. And then what you won't get to see is the final part, which is me adding the stickers and a photo collage that I made with my HP sprocket. But I'm going to add the final photos here so you can see what the final layouts look like. So I included some stickers, I included some of the rub-ons, and then a collage photo up in the corner using my HP Sprocket camera. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!